The environment has to be changed.
What we're saying is have a hub.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bigoted about videos. I'm fine with that.
The employment terms are a problem, but can we move now to the environment, the physical surroundings that the workers have to live with?
Actually, when I came here, I live in one private house. So very small room. Cannot is 6 person in 3 person cannot sit in floor together. Cannot. But there 6 person is staying living. It's very little. Sometimes and 2 men cannot coming in the door.
Pass each
yeah,
other.
can the pass the door? Is our Bangladesh most here coming mostly middle classes people. They Bangladesh actually cannot find is good job and don't have to money. So people came here think they earn money here.
But what about the living conditions where you sleep and where you...
Yeah, that is actually I don't know how about the other country because I never going to I can't compare. But I know sometimes is feel other countries good or 1 or 2 person is one room and some cheaper. But here if one room is very expensive, so that's why is one room is many person. Like say very small, cannot move 6 person, only just 3 bed, 2 sheet bed, just put in room, that is one room.
You don't know what is it like in Malaysia? What are the conditions? Do you know?
No, Malaysia also living
Same.
condition like Singapore.
Same, worse, better?
Worse than Singapore also.
Worse than Singapore?
Some place.
How about you? What do you
Well,
think?
you keep asking whether it's better or worse than Malaysia or other places.
We have
but
to,
why
because
don't we
there
just
is an
talk about
indictment on
what
the way we
it's
treat
like
the workers.
here?
No. You see, we have to put it in perspective, because
But
in the
how does
end,
it
how
compare
we
with-
treat them is how badly do we treat them, or is it that we are not treating them that badly?
We're
I'm trying to put
talking
it in
about people here.
perspective.
Why don't we compare them with other people?
It's not in
rather than with
isolation.
other
You see, the workers have a choice to work in Malaysia, to work in the Middle East, and to work in Singapore. My issue is that they seem to want to work in Singapore. So if they want to work in Singapore, then we have to understand why. Is it that although we grumble about the conditions, it could be worse in the other countries? You know, it does not absolve the way that they're treated in Singapore, but it's putting it in perspective. Because there are people, like you say, who still prefer to work in Singapore. So there must be reasons behind that.
Yeah.
I think we have to
Mostly
correct.
this reason is more money if here from other country.
Yeah.
That is
I
his
th-
reason.
yes.
If people want to going other country for what, must have to learn money. So
Yeah.
they're thinking where I can go make more money. That's why actually people think and came here.
Yeah,
Because
it's quite
if
possible.
there is very hard
the
working,
money-
but money is good.
Yes, I'm sure there are better and worse places in all these countries. And I think Debbie put it correctly. The question is not the comparison between how they are treated here versus how they are treated in Dubai or Saudi Arabia. Because Dr. Russell Heng, the president of TWC2, once put it very eloquently, as is his style. He said, just because another country exploits them 100%, doesn't justify us exploiting them 50%. You know what I mean? And,
No, that's
but-
why I say
yeah,
it does not absolve what we are doing here, but in the end, it is also fair to put it in perspective.
Why?
Because it is the way you treat people. If you're treating people better, and because you're treating them relatively better, but maybe not good enough, and they want to come here, then it is a workable situation.
No,
it
it's
is not
not.
an
Yes.
impossible
Can I just say,
situation.
many of them want to come because of what they're promised. But I would say that every man that I've met, and I've met over 7,000 men and talked to them about their salaries, all of them were promised more than what they received.
Is this a bad employer? Is this a bad agent, or both?
Both. And they're connected, so the agent
they're
often
connected.
works together with the company.
Sorry, I just want to be fair, and I want to be accurate, because on the one hand we have Jewel saying that the conditions may not be so good, but they come here for the money. On the other hand, you're saying that the money may not be so good, and I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Okay? Yes, and again I qualify that I'm not trying to absolve what we are doing as being correct, because it may not be correct, it may not be good enough. But still, it is good to put things in perspective. Why do they continue to come here? It cannot be that they were fooled and therefore they came here, because there's continuity in the flow of migrant workers to Singapore. The people that are fooled cannot continually be fooled.
Can I respond
Yes.
to that? I think they can be continuously fooled. They're often promised much more than they get.
Yeah.
And a lot of the men say, I just want to hold out. They don't make a salary complaint within the first 6 months, say, because they say, I can't possibly go home at this point because I would rather die than go home with this amount of debt. So the fact that they're making, say, half of what they expected, they're still making something. But they know that to raise this issue, salary dissatisfaction of the salary, means that they're likely to lose their job. So if they lose their job after 1 month, they would have paid several thousands, like say 8,000
Sure.
for
So
the job.
they have
don't
to
want to lose the
recover.
job after 1 month. Maybe after 6 months they realize that kickbacks are being asked. So after the first year, they're probably expected to pay kickbacks. Now, not all of them, but the ones that I deal with. So when they're asked to pay kickbacks, it's almost as if they're starting back at square one, but they're still hoping
Sure.
to stay. Now, the men that I know that go back having lost everything, having lost their family's land, the family jewelry, go back in debt, the money lenders are harassing the family, many of them don't even go home because they're ashamed to go home. They'll stay sometimes in Dhaka, try to find a way to come back
Sure.
again so that they can come back a little
You
bit
have
later.
a valid point. I think it's point taken. You're dealing with people. You mentioned that there's 30%. We do not know how empirical that is, but there is a percentage of people who are cheated. You are dealing with the people who are cheated.
Well, I'm
so
dealing
that's
only
your
with people who are
perspective.
cheated,
Yeah, that's your perspective. But I think we also cannot deny the fact that people are coming here because of the wages. All right.
But the one thing
And
I will
again,
say is,
it's not.
even
I'm not
among-
saying the wages are fair. I'm just saying that, relatively speaking, the wages are attracting people to come here.
I visited accommodation in Malaysia. I came back from Qatar recently to visit the accommodation there. I would say Taiwan. I went to various countries to look at, because our business is to look at where are the potential country that I can provide the same service in Singapore over here.
Okay.
If you look at accommodation in Singapore, I would say 80% of what our living condition here is definitely better than any of those countries that they have the opportunity to go there and work.
In all cases, or do you have renegade hostels, dormitories?
Uh,
Because he's saying also the conditions are
You're
pretty bad.
talking about
No,
your
okay.
120,000 beds.
Under your charge, under
no,
your
it's not bad.
association.
It's my members.
Yes.
Beside our members, I think there's still others who are also equally good.
Okay,
the
so in the
accommodations.
past, conditions were bad because there are horrible stories of them having to live, to share, many people to share one toilet and
Yeah,
no
that is
Majority of-
now I want to tell. This one dormitory is like one room is like 40 people, just 40 or 80 people like sharing only two toilet.
Okay.
The majority don't live in the purpose-built dorms. I think the purpose-built dorms are quite
Maybe
and they're getting to be better.
No, maybe I would say that we are almost a bit shortage of that. That's why governments came up with some solutions that temporary, before the new dorm coming out, they allowed factory to convert it for 49% of the total area for that purpose.
Okay.
But this is for temporary base.
But if I can just sum up very quickly, I think that we were trying to find out what were the reasons for the behavior of the workers in the various incidents, especially in Serangoon. I think the question of respecting the people, the immigrant workers, is important, and sometimes they're not treated with respect, and there is maybe some degree of racial prejudice against the people, and then it's a resentment that keeps growing. So there's area for improvement there. But as far as the working conditions are concerned, again, not absolving the $18 per day that we pay, which may or may not be adequate, and which may have to be driven by commercial reasons. It is not an unfair or an ungenerous amount compared to the regional countries. That's why the workers are coming and wanting to work in Singapore. But that's not to say also that a large percentage, you mentioned 30%, we need to verify that, a large percentage of people get cheated. And the people get cheated are really in a very sorry state because they cannot recover the amount of money that they've spent and paid to the agency, and sometimes dishonest agents work with recruiters here to purposely cheat them and let them go back, and they make their money. So that is probably something that has to be looked at. But it is an area that accommodation, that's very important. Conditions are not good, especially when you have 20 to 40 people having to share 2 toilets. But it is a situation that is improving and has to be improved perhaps more quickly.
Yeah,
And we're going to
so-
bring this section of the discussion to a close. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Singaporean attitudes towards migrant workers.